Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome along to the GPVWC 2022 Superlights, which takes us this time around to Spa-Francorchamps, right in the heart of the Ardennes forest, brings us to the 7-kilometre behemoth that is Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, slightly neutered from what its 14 to 15 kilometre layout was originally back in 1929. However, it brings us now to one of the drivers' favourites around the circuit here in the Ardennes forest. My name is Kieran McGinley, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joining Ewan Gale in the commentary box here. Ewan, great to work alongside you. How are you feeling towards tonight? Oh, he's having a couple of issues, so hopefully I'm not doing this on my own. Ewan, you're here.
I was going to say welcome, Kieran, but obviously a few little issues on my side, so I'll keep an eye on those. Should be all right for the race. So yeah, no, welcome to Superlights. And should be a great race. We saw a fantastic qualifying session just now. Very, very little between the top guys, and also different strategies on the tyres that we'll get into when we get into the start of the race, no doubt.
We will indeed, and of course the track temperature, the air temperature is blistering to say the least, so that could definitely shake up these strategies just somewhat. About 47 degrees track temperature was what qualifying led us to, so that should be an interesting one to see how that plays out. There's definitely going to be some sort of thermal degradation to be playing about with here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll come down to who's best on the tyres, who can eke out the lap time that they need whilst eking out the stint length, which we've seen quite a lot of this season already. And as usual in Superlights, I'm sure we'll see most of the action come after the first pit stop window. Race, so we'll just see how that goes on through a race.
Absolutely. And we've got Szymon Frelik, who's at the top of the standings at the moment with that one win at Azerbaijan. And then Luke Maguire is not very far behind, about 5 points behind, although he does have 4 wins for the season. But he did not finish at Australia, didn't race, I believe, at Bahrain, the second and third rounds of the season. So, yes, a slight bit of catching up to do, but turning into a bit of a title battle, a heavyweight battle at the top.
It is, and interestingly, both Frelik and Maguire tried to qualify on the mediums, and Maguire got the best of the two. Maguire P7 on the grid, and Frelik P10 on the grid, and really it has been a tale of two drivers. You've got Maguire probably the outright speed of the two, but Frelik's just had that consistency through a season, plenty of podiums, plenty of points finishes, and he's been at every race, of course, as well. So interesting to see how that plays out. We've got the break after this race, of course, and then it'll be interesting to see whether Maguire can carry that form through into the final part of the season. THR always very confident with what they can do. It's just whether that Frelik and Royal Blue can keep on top.
Yeah, now Frelik hasn't had a podium since, I believe, Canada, where he's finished 13th at the British Grand Prix. Then you had Austria, he finished 5th, Hungary in 4th. So patterns seem to have formed together, Ewan. This could be a chance for him to get back onto the podium here tonight.
Absolutely could, and I mean, we know he's got the pace as the grid comes up. We know he's got the pace, but as you can see, a bit of a shuffle grid.
Adriano Opportuni is at the top of the table. Then Lewis Bickers in second place and completing that front row. We've got Fabian Szydrik. Hopefully I don't butcher these two names too much. Ruben Merched is in sixth place. Luke Maguire in seventh place with Dylan Platt in eighth place. Then we've got Chris Butcher in ninth with Shimon Frelich rounding off the top 10 in that Royal Blue racing car. Michael Ayres in 11th place. Tom van der Voort rounding off the sixth row of the grid. We've got Joseph Herlock in 13th place. Pascal Florenz in 14th with Senna Stoffmel in 15th. Selva Joffet rounding off the top 16. Then we've got Matej Dabrowski in 17th place. Maxi Geisinger in 18th with Mateusz Kuzowski in 19th. Rounding off the top 20 there. Ben Willis in 21st. And Igoro Stryanyi rounds off our 22 drivers for this evening. And a blistering Belgium we've got here. I like the alliteration off the top of my head there as our drivers are on their formation lap. What sort of strategy could we expect tonight, Ewan?
Probably a two-stop with the weather and the way that the tyres have been playing up this season already. And we know that there's a bit of an update going on as well that just pushed the importance on tyre management just up a little bit as well. So expecting those guys on the softs to be pitting pretty early and definitely on two soft. Whether there's anyone brave enough to go on a one-stop starting in the harder two compounds remains to be seen. But really, throughout the season, the more stops you have and the more you can just lean on the tyre, the better we've fared. The better they've seemed to fare.
No one inside the top 10 outside of the top 10, I should say, starting on the soft tyre. So I guess that's a sign of things to come. Majority of those starting outside of the top 10 are on the medium tyre. So they're possibly thinking of running harder into this race. They probably have seen the track temperature climb to 48 degrees and are sort of sweating themselves in the cockpits of these cars, trying to get these tyres to the end. But the likes of Opporuni and Bickers, front row starting on the soft tyres, they're going to have a tough time not only keeping them in good shape around the first stint of this race, but obviously they've got 36 laps ahead of them. Let's see what tyres they go on to at the front of it. But Opporuni will line up on pole position, Bickers right behind him with Singh and Gusovski's in fourth place then, as our drivers round off the final couple of corners and make their way on to the grid. What will start 36 laps here in Superlights around the just over 7 kilometre circuit. Final drivers are just making their way onto their grid spots, and here we go then, counting up to start this race. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing in Belgium. What are the starts like then? It is a great start from Opporuni as he makes his way. He has a clear track ahead of him down in towards turn 1, in towards La Source, accelerating away out of the field. We're almost 3 wide on the exit there. As we make our way down the hill we go on towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. 3 wide on the entry there. That's braver than I. Through in towards Eau Rouge, up Radion, over that blind crest. And we make our way now on towards the Kemmel Straight, as the drivers go side by side, trying to make their way through, find their way through as well.
Yeah, Grandfist looking to make a move on Sandeep Singh. I think he's got it on the softer compound tyre, Singh on the hards to start with, and that's a THR getting nice. I think it's Luke Maguire on the outside. Oh, Fabian Szydrik on the soft tyres will be under attack pretty early on, as that is Ayres, I think. Mercedes, second Super Jury, getting around Maguire, crucial that with his teammate up front in third.
Luke Maguire trying to get back onto the power here, down in towards Pouard we go. This double left-hander, which really does test the limits of mechanical and aerodynamic grip. So we see then Merched trying to break away. Ayres right behind Maguire as we make our way in towards that campus section now, making our way onwards towards the closing stages of this lap. But it's a great start from Opporuni. Of course, on those soft tyres, he has to make them work if he wants to make his strategy work.
Yeah, he absolutely flew, didn't he? Bickers didn't get as good a start in the Royal Blue. Grandfist was all over the back of Singh as well. So Singh on the harder tyres just stopped Grandfist's surge early on, but now Grandfist really with a bit between his teeth. You know, he'd be up in the championship battle if it wasn't for the races he missed in the mid-season. So no surprise to see him up the top as Maguire attacks his teammate at the end of lap 1 through a bus stop. And look at that side by side. I think it's Geisinger and Polenz.
Made their way side by side, then down in towards La Source for the second time in this race, as we watch on from Simon Frelich then, who's trying to find his way through the order then, and championship leader down in 11th place at the moment. Not kind of the start he wanted. He's always on that little bit of the cusp. He qualified in 10th place, which is normally one of the worst places to qualify, as here comes Granqvist then on the outside of Bickers as we make our way down the Kemmel Straight and in towards Lake.
Have we lost Maguire? That could be crucial for the championship. Maguire's fallen down the field.
We might have.
Yeah, rear wing gone for Maguire. That's huge for the championship. And with Maguire off somewhere, I imagine up Radion and Eau Rouge.
Yeah, possibly.
Because he was plummeting early on, so that is massive.
Tamala is also out of the race, and I wonder if there's a connection. Can we connect the dots between the two, I wonder? Well, what we do know is...
No, they were too far away. They were too far away.
Okay.
Tamala was down the bottom, but Maguire, I mean, that's massive for the championship, with Frelich now in the top 10.
Yeah, he is indeed, with the 4 wins to his name at the moment. So he will be looking, well, he would have been looking to extend that at the moment, but with a lack of rear wing, well, he will be absolutely kicking himself there. That's going to hand a huge advantage to Simon Frelich there. We see now up into 10th place. Meanwhile, Sandeep Singh is making his way then through in towards the final few corners then, as we make our way up towards the final chicane out of Blanchimont, one of the fastest corners you're ever going to see in the world of motorsport. And yellow flags somewhere out in sector 2, which have been quickly cleared. Possibly someone running slightly wide at Blanchimont, but opportunity there with the fastest lap of the race. No surprise really, he's on the soft tyres, as we see Ruben Miched making his way into 6th place, trying to now find his way past Sersic in 5th place.
Yeah, so we've seen issues Superlights in the last few seasons with cars following through Eau Rouge and losing downforce and having accidents. I just wonder whether that's what happened. Why he was up behind the man on screen right now, Ruben Macheda, who's got DRS action down the Kemmel Straight, making his way past Sherchick at last. So the second Super Venturi into top 5. It'll be interesting to see if any more happens, as Maguire has now DNF.
Yeah, that's a huge shame for the man who was 2nd place in the standings coming into tonight. The Irishman is out of the race, and that's going to hand a huge advantage not only to Simon Frelich for him to get some points on the board, but what that also will do is be great news for Jan Granqvist, who finds himself in 2nd place, and perhaps here with a possible route back into this championship hunt. I mean, yes, he finished on top of the podium in Austria. He finished 2nd at Hungary. He got the pole position at both of those. He missed Canada and Silverstone. So this is his great chance to get himself right up there, back into this championship hunt once and for all.
Yeah, and crucially, he's on the right strategy as well. He's on the medium tyre. He can go medium, hard, pretty much as Sherchick, really testing the track limits there through Stavelot. Yeah, Granqvist on the right strategy, not letting opportunity get away. It's looking really good for him, but there is such a long way to go. We've seen already one championship contender already suffering the consequences of a mistake. Sirchik now under pressure from Michael Ayres and Dylan Plack back up in the top 10. You can see Dylan back competitive again, already a race winner this season, of course. And Frelich then just slightly off the back of that group, a 2nd off the back of the 2nd CHR Chris Butcher.
Absolutely, as we ride on board then with Sandeep Singh, as he looks to try and find a way past Rickers as we make our way up Radion and now on towards the Kemmel Straight with a little bit of DRS as well. Down the Kemmel Straight, of course, using that slipstream to his full advantage, moves to the left-hand side, has to go the long way round as we head in towards Les Combes. Can he get that move stuck? No, there's contact between the two of them. Singh and Bickers are around, both of them going in towards Les Combes, and drivers behind are having to sort of thread the needle to find their way through. But Bickers and Singh collide on the entrance in towards Les Combes. Singh is still stranded on the 2nd pass. He's having to wait a long time to rejoin in this race, but that is 2 positions handed out there as Sandeep Singh still stranded. He does manage to get that car going again, but that's a few free positions for many drivers behind them.
That's such a shame for Sandeep Singh, because you know he was up there in qualifying for the first time in a while. He's on a good strategy with those medium tyres, and then trying to make a move on Bickers, who had been struggling for pace, and they both just went to the same bit of real estate, and unfortunately it was sort of a little bit inevitable. Obviously up for the DC to decide what that was about, but it was pretty much like a racing incident. I think just 2 people then hard at it. So unfortunate for both of them, Bicker slips down, obviously not as far as Sandy Pacini now has a real effort to get back into some sort of competitive state.
Yeah, that's a real 2 positions handed to our championship leader in Szymon Frelick, where he needs them the most. He's now up into 8th place, but has kind of lost touch with Butcher right up ahead of him at the moment. So he'll be looking to try and rectify that one. Chris Butcher, the car just ahead of him as we watch on with Fabian Sergic. Then as he makes his way now down in towards the source, trying to chase down Macheda right up ahead of him. But he's also got Ayres and Platt right behind him, heading our way down in towards Eau Rouge and then up Radion. Just having a look at some of the last sort of lap times here, I have noticed that Grankvist has been trying to close in on Opportunity on these last couple of laps. Could the soft tyres be coming to the end of their usable life? Meanwhile, here comes an attack here from Ayres as he looks to get past. He does get past and then tries to defend the line going in towards Lecombe, which he does successfully. So Ayres makes his way past Sergic then and makes his way up into 4th place.
Yeah, the guys on the softs are really paying the price for having to. They got to eke the stint out to get to a reasonable pit stop window, and they just haven't got the pace while they're doing it. So the people on the mediums or even the hards are just able to lean on the tyres a bit more. As I think that was Mr. Platt going wide in the background through no name. Yeah, very, very gentle on the softs, and it's costing them at the moment. You can see Opportunity, although Opportunity's just started to sneak out a little bit of a gap on Grankvist on this lap, but Bickers was going backwards before his incident. Singh and obviously Sergic is struggling against these guys on the mediums now as well.
Yeah, Opportunity seems to be strong in the middle sector, but everywhere else he seems to lose time to Grankvist. So that could be a measure of trying to cool the tyres, make sure everything's all in check as Ayres now focuses his attack on Macheda up ahead of him as we head our way through Blanchemont. He's got a load of speed here. Look at the speed he's carrying now as we make our way up towards the final chicane. Then he's got the inside line as Michael Ayres gets the inside line in towards the penultimate corner and takes away that position away from Macheda. So Ayres now moves up into 3rd place. But something's telling me that Macheda is not done with that battle in towards the source. He'll be looking to pick up that DRS here, Ewan.
Yeah, he will, and it's put Michael on the back foot a little bit, but he has got so much straight line speed. He's like a whip in an Indiana Jones film, isn't he? He's absolutely flying up through Radion, and at the top of the hill they go. And now he's just got to try and defend from Macheda, who will come back. But look how much speed he's got in a straight line. It's absolutely obscene.
Here's Ruben Macheda trying to close in, but yeah, there's... Oh, Platt's trying to go for a move then. Sergic then. But it hasn't quite worked out. Both of them managed to get away with that one, and it happens that Sergic manages to rejoin ahead as Dylan Platt try to move in towards the Lecombe section. But what that's done is it's allowed Butcher to try and throw his hat into the ring, in towards Speaker's Corner. Back onto the power he goes then. He gets a lot better traction going now down in towards Pouon then for the 6th time in this race, and that is a position gain for Butcher then. Chris Butcher took that with both arms, both hands. He wasn't letting up on that one. Don't give him a sniff of a position because he will absolutely take it.
No, so Platt and Sergic both on the softs then and trying to fight each other, probably because Sergic is struggling for pace in the race. He was quick in qualifying, but hasn't got the race pace at the moment, and it's really cost them both. Butcher flying past Platt there as he was coming back through. And now Sergic will be on the back foot again, this time with someone on the grippier medium tyres at the moment. Ahead, 1.5 now between Opportunity and Grankvist. That's sort of stretching in and out between 1.3 and 1.8. So nice and close lap time wise. 1:48.3 for Grankvist, 1:48.4 for Opportunity. But remember, Grankvist is on a much better strategy. Imagine that was slip about through the pit stop window. Michael Ayres, fastest man on track that lap. A 1:48.1.
Oh, and Dylan Platt is out of the race. We've just seen that now. He's into the pit lane, and reports of a crash he's had, so he's now out of the race. Meanwhile,
no front wing.
No front wing at all. So our championship leader, no front wing, as he looks to try and make his way back to the pit lane. The problem is it's such a long lap here at Spa. Chris Butcher now tries to find his way round the outside of Sergic here, as there's a little of contact between them, but Chris Butcher powers through and gets that position. He moves himself now up into 5th place. He's bought himself a couple of positions in these last couple of laps, has Chris Butcher. He's now managed to get his way up to 5th.
I'm going to use the word robust defence from Fabian Schurchik. That's twice now in Superlights that is being a little bit bargy-bargy, but both surviving against Chris Butcher up carrying the THR flag. But Simon Frelick plummeting down the order with no front wing, and exactly the same as with Maguire, pretty much most of the lap to get through. Only coming down to Prix now, and he'll be. In fact, it looks as if he might be crabbing a little bit. Whether he's got a bit of suspension damage, and I wonder whether he was very close to Dylan Platt on track as well. And I wonder if those two problems are related. Brings obviously Luke Maguire's day a much happier day considering what happened to him with his DNF, but Jan Grangfist 1.2 off the lead now, starts to close in nicely on Opportuni, really bringing him back into the championship battle. Started the day 42 points off the championship lead. Well, that is looking as if it's going to be cut if things stay the same, but only on lap 8 at 36, so much has happened already.
I know, tell me about it. As we're watching on centre, Stuff Meal makes his way now down in towards La Source. He's trying to chase down Joseph Herlock for 7th place. Oh, gets a little bit tail happy on the exit of La Source. That will not help his momentum. Yeah, it's so important to get a good exit out of La Source, because that defines how you take Eau Rouge, how you fly up Radion, and then making your way down the Kemmel Straight. It all relates down towards La Source. And speaking of Opportunity, he might have to be looking in his mirrors. He's looking in them now, because Grangfist is really closed up to the back of him. Heading our way now down in towards Brussels, and then we'll make our way through Speaker's Corner. And this is an opportunity now for Grangfist to apply that pressure a little bit. Maybe he knows he doesn't have to make this move stick immediately, but he knows at this point Opportunity's soft tyres are going to be at the, well, tail end of their best before day. Meanwhile, Grangfist still has a little bit of life left in his mediums.
Yeah, he's got plenty of pace at the moment, and the good news for him is that Michael Ayres is starting to just drop off with his times now. I say drop off, he's still doing 1:48.4, but it's matching the front two and not gaining on the front two. If anything, Grangfist is slightly faster, especially now he's got the DRS pulling him along. But Opportunity doing a nice enough job at the moment to stay ahead. It's just whether he can, again, stretch these soft tyres out enough to get to a reasonable pit stop window. Probably want to get to about lap 10 on these softs at the absolute minimum to make something work. The medium's probably looking more like lap 12, 13, 14. So, yeah, Opportunity doing a good job, but Grangfist looks like the driver with all of the pace at the moment.
He does, and look at this, he's putting all the pressure on coming out of La Source, getting the power down, and now looking into that slipstream, and now looking with that DRS down in towards Les Corbes as he makes his way through Eau Rouge, up the hill through Radion, and now down the Kemmel Straight where the DRS will be absolutely wide open here. He looks to the outside here as Opportunity, oh, there's a little bit of contact between them there, but they managed to get away with it. Grangfist then takes over the lead of the race here in Belgium in the Superlights, and Opportunity moves down into 2nd place. And Opportunity here, well, he may have lost the lead at the moment, but of course he didn't have a great start to the season, had 2 DNFs, took a break, and then came back at Austria, got onto the podium, so he wants to keep that good form going.
Yeah, and this might work out quite nicely for him actually, because he will be able to just sit in the DRS, sit in the slipstream, get a bit of extra.
Yeah, you want to absolutely stay in that slipstream, as you say, get that benefit down the start-finish straight, and just make sure he's within that touching distance, and staying in the DRS zone is going to be so important. He'll want to try and use those soft tyres as long as he possibly can. Meanwhile, though, Grangfist can really get the power down, use those medium tyres to his advantage now. There's a bit more life in them, and yeah, just through that 2nd sector alone, Grangfist has managed to open up 0.8 of a second between himself and Opportunity as they head their way through in towards Blanchimont for the 9th time in this race, and then heading up towards the final chicane, and it's already more than a second before that detection point here. So Grangfist has done a great job. He's possibly even broken DRS as they head their way on towards the start-finish straight.
Yeah, he would have done. He just hasn't got enough traction to follow him down the straight, is he, at the moment on those soft tyres. But interesting bit of information is we've seen Shader come in. The Shader that came in is the first pit stop on those soft tyres. So he pushed hard to get through the top 10 at the start, maybe getting a bit of payback for that pitting at the end of lap 8 as it was. So he's got a bit more to give back on the tyres over the next 2 stints.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, is up 8 positions. So too is Stoffmeal as well. So lots of changes of position as we've got some cars into the pits as well. And Grangfist leads the way from Opportuni. Meanwhile, then Joseph Herlock is onto the back then of Sershik. And as we make our way now on towards Les Combes, I don't think he's quite close enough yet. He certainly thinks about it, but maybe he's just filling the mirrors of Sershik just up ahead of him as we now make our way in through Malmedy and down the hill towards Brazil. And Opportunity is dropping down the order. And well, we saw him moments ago battling away with the lead for Grangfist. It could be internet related, I'm hearing. So that is really, really unfortunate. In second place and doing a good job on the soft tyres, and it's all come undone for him.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. You know, he was doing a nice job on that strategy. It was the best strategy to be on, but you know, great pole position that. Doing a really nice job, held Grangfist behind for plenty of time. So if that is internet related, that is such a shame to see that happen for Opportunity.
Is as well, and it does mean that Ayres moves up into second place, Butcher now up into third. This means then that Joseph Herlock is battling away for fourth place with Fabian Serchik here. We ride on board now with Herlock as he now makes his way in the Red Hour Racing machine through in towards Blanchemont. He's really closed up to the back of Serchik here as we make our way around the outside in towards the chicane. As there's a contact made, Joseph Herlock has to run deep in towards that chicane. He has to miss the second part of it as well. He'll lose a lot of momentum for that one, and that might allow Stoffmeal to simply swoop by. Thank you very much, says Stoffmeal. He now moves up into fifth place. Away out of La Source, then down the hill we run, and well, that position handed to Stoffmeal on a plate might be able to bring him a little bit of good fortune here as we made our way on through Eau Rouge. Up Radion we go. Now DRS will be wide open for Stoffmeal and Herlock. Let's see what they can do with it as Stoffmeal looks to the right hand side, looking up the inside of Serchik, then making our way down in towards Les Combes, and he does take that position. So 2 positions in little less than 2 or 3 corners then for Stoffmeal, who moves himself up into fourth place. And meanwhile, Herlock now has the battle to try and get his way past Serchik, then down in towards Blanchemont. Not really an overtaking opportunity, but I tell you what, that Black Hawk Racing machine is one of the widest cars we've seen, according to Joseph Herlock.
Yeah, and probably a bit too wide. That's 3 times now that we've had side-by-side action with Fabian, and there's 3 times we've had cars going off the road. So, you know, I don't want to outrank myself here, but I just feel like that was a little bit too on the edge into the bus stop last time round. Let's see if they get that close this time round as well. But Fabian just starting really to struggle on those soft tyres as the guys on medium just have a bit more silence.
Yeah, not only is he trying to defend from Herlock, but you can see there, that's about nearly 2 seconds he's lost to Stoffmeal on this lap alone. And here comes Joseph Herlock then. He fancies this move before any DRS whatsoever. Up the inside of Blanchemont, a braver driver than I, but he does get that move done, Herlock, in towards Blanchemont and moves himself now up into 5th position. The only issue with that is it's going to hand the DRS down to Serchik then, as we make our way in towards the final corner. But such a short DRS straight down towards La Source, he should be okay and manage to hold on to the position. We're on to lap 12 here in Superlights, and it's Grangfist who leads the way from Ayres in second place. Butcher rounds off the top 3, then it's Stoffmeal in 4th, Herlock 5th, Serchik in 6th with Joffa in 7th, Singh is in 8th, Pollens in 9th, Dabrowski in 10th, Macheda in 11th, Geisinger in 12th, although he has just pitted there, so Van der Voort now up into 12th, Storenyi in 13th place, Bickers 14th, and Guzovsky will take that 16th place unless Geisinger can rejoin just ahead of him. That's your points scorers at the moment, and we're seeing Macheda, who's emerged from the pits on the outside of Dabrowski. He didn't even need any second invitations, didn't even really need the DRS straight up towards the chicanes of Les Combes. He's now back up into the top 10 on a fresh set of hard tyres as Dabrowski slightly misses his braking point.
Yeah, if you needed an image of just how powerful fresher tyres are on this sort of racetrack in this sort of heat with these sort of tyres, that was it, because that was just pure traction and grip. Traction from the source.
Absolutely, and putting those good tyres to use, those new fresh tyres to use. And you were mentioning that it's a 2-stop, so if Shader's on the hard tyres, then it can only be that he'll use the hard tyres again. It just looks like here, with the high track temp and the fact that these tyres are just subject to thermal degradation, really have to watch out for blistering and whatnot. The hard tyres are probably going to be the tyres that everybody wants to be on towards the end of this one.
It's been a good race tyre all year long as well, Kieran. It's allowed the drivers to push. So I think that is Butcher into the pits. So.
Butcher in from third place in this race, so he's going to get rid of those medium tyres, and if our predictions are correct there, Ewan, he's going to put himself onto a set of hard tyres. He stops there. Yes, there will be hard tyres going onto that machine, and away he goes again. Right down the pit lane. So where will that make him rejoin? Where will it rejoin him in terms of Macheda as he makes his way out of the pit lane then? Back onto the power, and he does rejoin. Where's that? I think that's just in front of Macheda. Heading our way now down in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. He's rejoined just behind Polens, but just in front of Macheda. So that's worked out very well for Chris Butcher. He's got himself a little bit of DRS to use as well as he looks to try and get his way past Polens. Up the inside he will go in towards Lecom, and well, that was easy because I don't think Polens made that too difficult for Chris Butcher there.
No, he didn't. You've got to know when to fight your fight, and that's exactly what Polens did. But it doesn't help him by defending, it certainly doesn't help Butcher by defending. So good heads-up racing. Here's Jofa. Great to see him up in the top 10. Relatively new to Superlights and doing a nice job in the TTF, which has been a competitive car at various points through the season, just not consistently competitive, but Stoffmill and Joffert all. So Dabrowski trying to hold on with the tyres, but this is starting to fall back down the order as the pit stop starts cycling through.
Ben Willis has been in the pits for quite some time, and that is damage related, so whether we'll see him back onto the track we shall have to wait and see, but he'll want to, well, at the rate of this race is going, he'll want to try and stay in this one because there's only really 3 positions now that are not scoring you points. So in theory, if he tries to keep himself in this race, there's every chance he could actually nick a point towards the end of this one, as Macheda now gets his way onto the back of Polens then, and we do have drivers into the pits. Stoffmeal and Singh are both into the pits. So too is Ayres. He's actually just rejoining onto the racetrack, and he does rejoin ahead of Silver Joffert as he makes his way now onto the power. Down the hill he'll go onto Eau Rouge and Radion. Definitely an undercut attempt on Grangfist to try and buy him some time here.
Yeah, and he needs that time as well because, you know, Grangfist managed to stretch out that nice lead as Ayres was fighting his way through the top 10. That's exactly why Grangfist's qualifying was so important as Macheda this time coming up onto Polens. But look, waiting that lap has cost him plenty of time, by 2 seconds to Chris Butcher. So finally getting past Polens, had to work a bit harder. Maybe just a bit of a setup difference between the THR and the Super Venturi as well. That might be why it was so easy for Butcher the last time round. And yeah, Macheda up into P6 now. Obviously that will be a top 5 by the time Joe Fair and Herlock pit as well. And Super Venturi looking really nice in the team's point standings at the moment as the race is going.
Yeah, Grangfist though will be looking at this thinking this is his race at the moment. He's got that 21.6 second lead, but he is yet to stop in this race, so he's looking to try and make those medium tyres last as long as they possibly can to give him the best possible use. And well, from here, Grangfist, could he attempt the one stop here? It seems like a risky strategy.
I'm happy he didn't because he's in the pits, and you know he's just got to cover off Michael Ayres. He had a big enough gap to do that. No point doing anything too silly. It is possible, but I don't think he will. I think he'll just cover off those behind him, especially with the lead he's got and the situation he's been given. So Grangfist out in the lead, as I think Herlock did pit from what was P2, but realistically it was slightly down the order through the pit cycle anyway.
So we have 5 second lead, I should say, from Grangfist to Ayres. Meanwhile, Joseph Herlock, as you said there, he is making his way down the pit lane, having pitted in. So really after the first round of pit stops, we'll be able to sort of shake up the order then. Joseph Herlock, where will he rejoin? He might have rejoined just ahead of Stoffmeal, but Stoffmeal, having that little bit of extra momentum coming out of La Source, is able to get ahead of Joseph Herlock. What that means, though, is that Herlock will now try a move down the Kemmel Straight. Who will have that DRS? It will be Herlock then, as he looks to stream his way back past. And meanwhile, here's Hershik then, who fancies his chances at getting 2 positions in 1, which he does. What a move then from Hershik. He sized that one up beautifully.
Great work from Serchik. He had a clean run, didn't he, after a Rouge and Heavy on the Jesse's at speed to make his way past with a double slipstream and DRS to boot. And yeah, just threading his way through on the inside down the Kemmel Straight. Great work from the Black Hawk Racing driver.
Absolutely. He saw that coming and just tried to size up the car, did Fabian Schurchik, and it's worked out perfectly. But now Joseph Herlock will have done all that battling to try and gain a position, and he's right back where he started in P10 as he makes his way now going in towards this Stefania and Campus section. So now he'll try and lock sight on Fabian Schurchik as we make our way towards the halfway point in this race. Yellow flag somewhere out in Sector 2. They have remained out, so it might be a slight spin. It's Willis who's caused the yellow flag and has since not finished the race, so he's now come up as a DNF. So now we have 17 runners in this race, and all the more reason that if a race isn't going your way, to stay in this one, because you still could get yourself a couple of points, even though it's not been a great day at the office.
Yes, Mr. Frelich, we're looking at you in P17, 10 seconds off Kuzovsky, who is up ahead. Yes, yeah, absolutely right. Never give up. There's always points available as we flick back up to Macheda, who is right on the back of the back of the TTF, as Joffre, who is yet to pit, and this should be pretty easy. In fact, look, just absolutely size pass. So sensible from Joffre, and again, he'll just pick up the slipstream, a few extra kph. Bit of a move going on behind as well, I think Schurchik and sorry, it's Bickers on Van der Voort.
Yep, and Bickers gets that move done ahead of Tom Van der Voort then, as he now makes his way through in towards Malmedy, and down the hill he'll go towards Brussels. Glangfist leading the way by 5.8 seconds ahead of Ayres then, and then it's Butcher in 3rd place, Macheda in 4th. He's just managed to find his way past Sylvie Joffert, who's definitely trying a one-stop strategy, that is for sure. He wants to try and make the fewest stops possible, but he's going to have to be careful on his tyres. Polenz then in 5th place with Bickers in 6th, Van der Voort in 7th, Schurchik in 8th place, Schurchik in 9th place with Herlock in 10th, Stoffmehl in 11th, Singh in 12th, Geisinger in 13th, Dabrowski in 14th, Sarengi in 15th. That rounds off our points scorers so far.
And interestingly, we've still got people yet to pit, but tell you what, we were saying that Schurchik was struggling for pace on those soft tyres. He did a hell of a job to get to where he did on that first stint, pretty much pitting at the same time as the drivers on the medium. So that's put him back in the fight for a decent finish, isn't it? Van der Voort yet to pit, Polenz yet to pit, Joffre yet to pit. So you know, he's at least P6.
Yeah, there you can see. Stops to make. We saw Ayres into the pits actually. So
yeah, I wouldn't trust that too much. Van der Voort isn't ahead of Schurchik and Herlock on strategy. No way. He was too far back, and we saw Schurchik and Herlock battle another P6 earlier. So 100% Van der Voort needs to pit, starting on a harder compound of tyres at the start of the race. So yeah, Van der Voort, Joffre, and Polenz all yet to pit.
Glangfist then is yet extending his lead over Ayres at the top of this race standing. 6.3 is now roughly the gap between them, as we've got a bit of a battle for 11th place as Singh tries to make his way back up through the field. He makes his way past Stoffmehl in towards Les Combes, now through Malmedy, and yeah, this is going to be an attempt of a recovery drive for Sandeep Singh in that Road to Formula Racing machine.
Yeah, and any points off the team as well. So you've got Polenz and Singh for RTF. And you know, Singh will be so gutted with what happened in that collision with Bickers. It'll be interesting to see what the DC say about that later on. I'm sure both drivers will fight their cases. I mean, it looked like Bickers was still alongside. It's just how far alongside he was, and whether that will be deemed as Sandy turned across at the apex, or whether it should have been Sandeep's corner. Be really interesting to see. I mean, Sandy looked as if he got through. Yeah, a bit of a tough one for both of them because they're in such a good position. But Bickers on the soft tyres on a different strategy, maybe, you know, I can see why he was fighting it, but maybe just so early in the race, just let the guy on the slightly better strategy go through and see what he can make of it towards the end.
Well, I'm glad we're not in race control because that's their decision to make and not ours, which is a huge relief. Polenz then is into the pits just before the halfway distance. He's managed to get those medium tyres to run. So this could be a strategy here to put him onto the hard tyres and just worry not about the tyres because he seems to have treated them quite well.
Yeah, totally agree. That looks like a nailed-on one-stop, doesn't it? Unless he just goes like hella Shurchik, really showing plenty of pace now on the back of Van der Voort, who we think is yet to pit. The guy goes backwards, the Black Hawk goes forwards, and Shurchik in P7.
Swoops in to take 7th place, does Shurchik then, as he makes his way up the order. His next target will be Bickers up ahead for 6th place. Grunquist then stabilised that gap. Meanwhile, Butcher is in 3rd place. Macheda about 3 seconds back from a potential podium battle. Joffert's still out there, still yet to pit in this race, but you can see he's now lost about 3 seconds to Macheda since we saw them battling about a lap and a half, 2 laps ago. Frelick then, our championship leader, is in 17th place. 2nd in the championship, Luke Maguire, retired from the race very early on, and what that means is 3rd place in the championship, our Finn in Jan Grunquist has a chance of really pulling himself back into this championship hunt, having missed Canada and Britain. He's got a real chance to score maximum points if he can to get himself right back up in there. I mean, he's 37 points off of Szymon Frelick at the top of the standings then. This 25 points could be the most critical he'll score all season.
Yeah, and as I said at the start of the race, you know, he's had the pace all season to be a challenger. It's just he had a few hardware issues in the middle of the season, missed a few races, and I mean, imagine where he would be without that. So, you know, realistically, we've got a real battle for the championship between 3 drivers, as Van der Voort now starting to become a bit of a cork in the bottle down in the bottom of the top 10. That is Herlock behind, Singh behind, Stoffmill as well in there, and then a gap to Polenz, who just pitted as we'd seen. And Polenz, by the way, P4 in the championship, so you know, plenty of points on the table for him as well. So Van der Voort comes under pressure now, and look at the straight line speed of Singh as they go Hackman Schumacher's onto style.
They do indeed.
Demonstrate.
They do indeed, and a great move then from Singh. He managed to get that inside line, almost that Hakkinen in that storyline. Chose the right way and stuck to it, got his way past, and absolutely so got that move on Joseph Herlock. 2 for 1 for Sandeep Singh.
That was right in the fields, that was, wasn't it, for any motorsport fan? That was brilliant. What a move from Sandeep Singh. He lined it up almost in Radion, and yeah, you can understand why Herlock went where he did, as Guzovsky has an issue, I think. Yeah, you can understand why Herlock went the way he did, because you want the racing line into Les Combes. But Sandeep Singh, it was almost as if he had a rocket stuck to the back, wasn't it? Absolutely flying back straight and picked up both of them.
Saw it coming, didn't he? And makes his way up now into 8th place. And this is going to be a good recovery drive if things stay the way they are for Sandeep Singh. His next target is going to be Fabian Sishrik right up ahead of him, and he'll be closing in, looking to try and make the advantage of this good pace he's got. Meanwhile then, we have a battle for 5th place. Silver Joffert battling away with Bickers, although Joffert is still, I believe, yet to pit in this race, so he's making those tyres last as long as they possibly can. I mean, he's on the hard tyres at the moment, so obviously he has to use the mediums at some point. I guess he's just trying to use those tyres as long as possible, get them as far as he can before he has to go onto a new set of tyres.
Yeah, problem is he's 2 seconds lap slower at the moment than those around him, so whether he can pick up a bit of pace in the second stint remains to be seen. But at the moment, you know, the one stop doesn't look like the fastest way to go. Understand why you do it from downfield.
Yeah, something different to try, I guess, is the way to go. Meanwhile then, Stoffmill is looking to try and get his way past Tom van der Voort, which he does. So Senna Stoffmill now up into the top 10. Now can try and chase down that battle for 7th place, I guess, because he's not too far away. He can see that battle for 7th place, and I guess he'll want to be a good part of that one. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, as we've seen, the TTF's got pace this season, and that's why I'm a little bit surprised Joffert is trying to one-stop it. Stoffmill just trying to follow into that group, as you said. And maybe this is a bit cynical, but maybe Joffert is just staying there until Stoffmill gets into the RS rank of that group, as Shurchik now just a little bit out of shape at Fang chicane. now into Stavolo, just under a bit of pressure, and we've seen him struggling for a bit of pace through this part of the circuit. Earlier, Herlock was all over the back of him, wasn't he, through launching more. So let's see if I think Sherchik has got enough of the slipstream effect on the offer, and we'll probably make a move into the bus stop.
Here we go then. He'll have the inside line going in towards the final chicane, which he does get that move done. Moves himself up into 6th place. Yoffert still stays out, so Sandeep Singh has to get this move done out on track. He'll have a bit of DRS. You see there that Yoffert was struggling to get the power down. That's allowed Singh to go right up the inside in towards La Source and take that position away. Again, on the exit of La Source, he'll struggle for grip, will Yoffert. That will put him into the hands there of Herlock and Stoffmeal right behind him, as now the other two try and break away. There is Herlock, who now will have a bit of DRS against Yoffert. Then down the Kemmel Straight, opens up that DRS. I don't think Yoffert is going to make too much of a battle out of this as we make our way up towards Les Combes here, although he tries to stick his nose up the inside. I've been corrected. He doesn't want to let that go. Going down, but he's lost the back end. Did he collect the wall? I don't know, but he certainly has rejoined onto the circuit. He did hit the wall there. He did hit the wall. So is there any damage to that car?
I think he squared it up, in fairness to him, but that's exactly what you were saying out at the bus stop. It's just traction related on those old hard tyres, and it's why I'd be surprised if people still try and get that one stop out. Having said that, fuel's going down in the cars. Yoffert's on his 21st lap on these tyres. We saw people pitting on lap 14. So it'll be right on the edge for a one stop if people so wanted to do it. It'll be interesting to see maybe the likes of Butcher, Macheda might try that. Although Macheda came in at the end of lap 8, didn't it? So actually Macheda's definitely got the pit stop.
He does have another pit stop in him. It's just where will it all re-emerge in all that battling as well. We did have a new fastest lap of the race there from Pollens, who's down in 12th at the moment. Meanwhile, Sandeep Singh is trying to size up Fabian Sherchik here as we make our way out of the final chicane onto the start-finish straight. And of course, Singh has that little bit of DRS to get him closer as they head now in towards the source. But the main DRS point is going to be on the Kemmel Straight, and Yoffert comes into the pits. And I assume there's going to be some damage on the car that they'll need to repair. How much damage is yet to be seen. Sandeep Singh then making his way up the hill, up Radion, and now onto the Kemmel Straight with some DRS on his side. This could be a battle here for 6th place. Where will he go then? Will Sandeep Singh? He'll move to the inside line, heading our way now in towards Les Combes. He's got the inside line this time around. He makes the move stick, and Sandeep Singh moves himself up into 6th place.
Sandeep's got plenty of pace, hasn't he, in that R2F car. Just a shame that what happened earlier in the race did, because I think we'd have a real good fight between him and Grangfist if it wasn't for that. Both on similar strategy and plenty of pace, as I said, in both cars. So Ayres now, talking of Grangfist, Ayres 9 seconds down or so, and lapping about 8/10 a lap slower on the last lap, a 148.3 compared to a 147.5 for Grangfist. So unless Grangfist has something dreadful happen, then it looks pretty plain sailing for him up at the front. And you've got Butcher and Macheda nicely spread out as well. Really, this is the closest battle on the track from Sherchik through Stoffmeal, Herlock as well, 7, 8 and 9.
Yeah, great battle between all of them. And of course there was that little bit of a battle we had with Yoffert as well, as Starenyi is into the pits. That's going to put Frelich up into a championship scoring position. So still got a point to his name, but he is 20 seconds off Dabrowski, as Macheda has now come into the pits as Sandeep Singh sets a new fastest lap of the race, a 146.845. He's absolutely flying now.
Yeah, a bit of DRS assistance from the Sherchik battle as well, though, to bear in mind with that one, but it's still a very good lap indeed. Macheda then the first, as expected, to blink for a second time, having pitted so early. So that's still only, it's plenty actually. He's done 15 laps on that second stint. Will easily get to the end on his next set of tyres.
Herlock then trying to size up his next move. This one would be on Stoffmeal. He wasn't quite close enough on the Kemmel Straight this time around, but he is certainly eyeing up that 7th place position here of Senna Stoffmeal, the Belgian, at his home Grand Prix. Will be wanting to try and hold off Joseph Herlock as long as he possibly can. Make our way through Speaker's Corner. Down the hill we go then on towards Puon. We are lap 23 of 36 in this race. We have 12 laps to go, 13 and a bit if you're picky. And we have Grankvist leading from Ayres in second place, Butcher in third with Bickers in fourth. Singh is in fifth with Tershik in sixth place, Stoffmeal in seventh. We're riding on board with eighth place man Joseph Herlock. Then we have Van der Voort in ninth, Polenz in 10th, Macheda in 11th, Dabrowski in 14th, and Frelick rounding off the top 15. Sandeep Singh then is right onto the back then of Bickers as he continues to make his rise up through the order, through Blanchimont, and now making his way on towards the final chicane. He certainly looks for a move, but the door was never open. I think he knew that as well. He's just filling the mirrors there of Lewis Bickers as we back onto the power, onto that short straight towards La Source. And you see there, Bickers sticking to his racing line. He's unfazed at the moment by Sandeep Singh through in towards La Source, back onto the power as they head their way down in towards Eau Rouge and then up Radion. As Sandeep Singh will have that DRS. He has fourth place locked in his sights at the moment. Fastest man out on track at the moment. He'll now have that DRS down towards Lakon. Can he make good use of it then? He's closing with that slipstream. He moves to the right hand side against Lewis Bickers here, has the inside line in towards Lakon, and Sandeep Singh gets that move done, moving himself up into fourth place, and he's absolutely flying up the field at the moment. The only issue is that the next car ahead of him is around 10 seconds in Butcher, and he's not got too many laps left. He's got about 12 to go, 11 and a bit if you're picky, so he's not got a lot of time on his side.
No, but it was good to see that round two between those guys was clean this time. Thought there might have been a bit more animosity given what happened earlier on in the race, but nice and fair, nice and clean, and I think in the end Singh just had so much more speed that it was pointless for Bickers to defend too hard. He sort of chauffeured him through on the inside, didn't he? So Singh's got plenty of speed, and to be completely honest, I can see him closing that in. He did a 1:47, 2/10 faster than Butcher on the last lap, but consistently faster at the moment. Plenty of time left in this race. It's a long racetrack. I think we could see Singh close that down if he can keep his tyres in check.
We have 12 laps to go, and the gap between the two cars is roughly 9 seconds. So, yeah, it's a tall order, but Spa is a long lap here. A lot can happen over 4 metres and 7 kilometres around this racetrack. Grankvist, though, is leading the way by 9 seconds ahead of Ayres, and then it's Butcher rounding off the top three. Meanwhile, then Joseph Herlock is still trying to resume this battle with Zeta Stoffmeal as we make our way down in towards La Source once again for the 25th time in this race. It's the TTF Racing of Stena Stoffmeal against the Red Arrow of Joseph Herlock, making our way now down the hill in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. And well, it looks like to me Joseph Herlock's going to be slightly too far back, but this DRS zone, this DRS straight could really bring him straight back into side-by-side action with Stoffmeal. I could have egg all over my face then, because here comes Joseph Herlock up the inside, and well, look at that, makes it look easy as that. Well, there's egg on my face then, Ewan. Joseph Herlock up into 7th.
Yeah, sure, it looks as if he just backed out in the braking zone. Just took a bit of a sensible pull. Interestingly, that's Poland behind Macheda now. Macheda's obviously pitted recently and I think gone through on Poland, so that is Macheda into P10. Frelick's in the pits, down at the back, so nothing too seismic about that move for Frelick, who sort of knew that he would, given the time that he lost his front wing. Interesting. I think Singh might have another stop in him, which might be why he's pushing so hard at the moment. I may be wrong, so apologies for that, but I think Sandy may have another stop. It's interesting to see what the guys up the top are going to do, actually, with their tyres, because we can see that the tyres are actually hanging on a little bit better than I think we thought they would. So whether anyone does flick the switch for a second stop, or whether they just try and coast their way through, especially if you're going Crystal Rares, you've got a nice buffer each way. Do you just try and get through to the end on the stop?
I do wonder about Frelick as well. Does he at some point come into the pits and go for the fastest lap? I mean, he's into the top 15 with Strarengi into the pits with quite a bit of extensive damage that we see Senna Stoffmeal try to find his way through. As Macheda now a 46.6 is our new fastest lap of the race. Stoffmeal will try and look with that DRS on the back of Joseph Herlock. He will have the DRS as he makes his way down the Kemmel Straight. And let's see what he can do here. Will this bring him right up into that battle. I wonder, he'll have the slipstream, he'll have the DRS as we make our way on towards Lake Comey. This time, though, he doesn't look too close enough. Macheda, meanwhile, getting his way past Tom van der Voort, and that was down the Kemmel Straight. That looked like it was a much easier move, and van der Voort there down into 10th place. He's got Polenz right behind him as well. So just as Macheda's gone through, now he's got Polenz behind him. He's not getting a minute of rest here, is van der Voort.
He's not at all. He's man under attack, isn't he? But again, I think he's got another pit stop left to go in the drag racing. So Van der Voort, though, doing a nice job in the top 10. Polenz will go through almost certainly. It'll just be what sort of pace he's got towards the end of the race. Ignore Starengi's transponder on the left, because he is out on track. He's not still in the pits, and he is P15 at the moment for HG Esports. So yeah, he's not in the pits for 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Ignore that. So Frelick is 16th, but having just pitted, charging and trying to get back into the points.
Looking to try and get his way through there just to pick up anything. Polenz, meanwhile, in the slipstream of Van der Voort then, as we make our way towards that final chicane. Polenz just later on the brakes, and he can afford to be on his fresher tyres. And just as you predicted there, Ewan, Tom van der Voort is coming into the pits for a stop then, and this will be his last one with only a handful of laps on the board. Now, does he go hards or does he go mediums at this point?
I think he's got to go mediums. I think he's done a mammoth stint to open the race up. I believe this will be a swap to mediums.
I think you're absolutely spot on. Yes, you are. Medium tyres on for Van der Voort as he leaves the pit lane. I wonder where he'll rejoin. Meanwhile, then, Senna Stoffmehl is looking for a little bit of revenge here on Herlock. He moves down the inside, and you saw there, Herlock backed out of it. He knew that Stoffmehl was down the inside, didn't turn in, didn't try and defend it. And they know at this point, maybe it's a case of I scratch your back, you scratch mine, helping each other with the DRS, seeing how far they can go. But I just wonder how long that will last, because at some point, you're going to be battling for that position there and then.
I think that they're very similarly matched pace-wise, and I think it's a little bit like NASCAR, where you don't want to be leading on the starting the last lap. You want to be second and time the move properly. As Frelick now fastest man on track after his latest pit stop. So I think it is a case of trying to position himself for that last DRS blast up into Lake Combe, because I think Stoffmehl went past Herlock, and Herlock went past Stoffmehl, and Stoffmehl was back ahead again. Meanwhile, look, we forgot about him. There's Jan Granqvist, who has been in a league of his own in the Super Grand Jury, and is still about 9.5 seconds up on Michael Ayres, who's been pretty good himself from down the grid as well. Granqvist just easily coasting, and if Van der Voort did 26 laps, Granqvist doesn't bring trouble out front. Don't expect to see him in the pits anytime soon.
Yeah, normally if you're the race leader and we don't see a lot of you, that's normally a good sign. And Jan Granqvist has absolutely proven that to be true. 10.5 seconds ahead of himself and and Ayres there. And our way through into the closing stages of this race. We have 9 to go, 8 and a bit if you're picky. Is Granqvist leading the way from Michael Ayres in second, and then we have Butcher in third place in that THR car. And it's a little bit of a spread out top 5 at the moment. It does seem to be a bit of battling for 7th place going on. We've seen between Stoffmehl and Herlock. There's a battle really sizing up between Staregi and Frelick for that final point position. Oh, there's a spinner!
Oh, Stoffmehl.
It is Stoffmehl who's found himself around going through Lake Combe, and that just looked like the back end just completely gave up on him.
Yeah, 2 TTFs at the same corner, on the same compounded tyre, but Stoffmehl hasn't been on these tyres for anywhere near as long as your fair had earlier on, so not good for Stoffmehl. He was doing a nice job, and that solves our NASCAR issue we were just on about. So Herlock up in P7, and Macheda and Polenz also gifted positions. Polenz then closing in the championship standings as well.
I wonder if Stoffmehl ran just slightly too far to the left-hand side going in towards Lake Combe. Did he pick up that little bit of curb there with the transfer of weight, the change of direction, simply asking too much of the car then? Well, he is rejoined into 10th place. Meanwhile, there is our race leader in Jan Granqvist then making his way over Radion, and now making his way on towards the Kemmel Straight. And as you can see there between himself and Mike Ayers, it's about 10 seconds at the moment. So Granqvist here looking okay at the moment, but of course we've had a very unpredictable race. Two of our championship protagonists have fallen afoul in this race. Fredrik finds himself in 16th place, trying to battle away with Starengi to try and grab a final point. He does have the fastest lap of the race as well, does Fredrik, so if he can get himself into that top 15, he gets himself a bonus point to boot as well, just to try and sweeten what will be a heavy blow. Meanwhile then, we're running aboard with Macheda as he looks to try and close in on Herlock, then getting a much better run going out of La Source, and with that DRS wide open, Macheda flies past the red arrow of Herlock and moves himself now up into 7th place.
Yeah, what's been startling for me so far, he's gone a bit wide into Lake Holm, a bit deep, and that's going to give Herlock a little bit of incentive, but nothing the red arrow driver can do. What's been interesting for me is how powerful the slipstream thing. It has been superb. We've seen runs down through Blanchimont as well as in the DRS zones. The second thing, to these fresh tyres are a godsend, aren't they? Look how easy that was for Macheda to get onto terms with Herlock, even through Radion. I mean, he was through pretty much before the DRS activation line. So yeah, Macheda back up into P7. Shurchik next up about 5 seconds or near enough for P6.
And looking to try and extend that lead is Granqvist as well. He keeps extending that gap bit by bit. And meanwhile, Rovan Macheda now moving himself up into 7th place. He's 4 seconds now behind Shurchik. Meanwhile, then, there is our championship leader in Szymon Frelick. He's now back up into the points. And what that means is that the fastest lap he currently holds will now be worthy of a point, because he's now into the top 15. And so that's a point at least for Frelick to really redeem. But, you know, it's been a tough evening for two of our championship protagonists, and one of them being Luke Maguire, who didn't really even see the first third of the race.
That is lap 2. He went off at the start of the lap, so an early casualty for Luke Maguire. And interesting, we haven't seen the same incident really up through the first sector. I think pretty much it was here that we started seeing him drop down, so through Rouge and Radion. We've seen issues in the past that with following cars through that section of track, so good to see actually that we haven't had those similar issues. 16 cars running, as you rightly said, Kieran, and Starengi the only one not in the points at the moment, but a decent run of it, to be fair to Daigoro Starengi in the HG Esport. Kept it nice and tidy, and his lap times haven't been a disgrace either, pretty competitive with that lower end of the midfield, so good promising signs there.
I think it'd be a bit hard done by not to get a point at the end of this one, considering everything that's happened. But unfortunately, someone in this race has to finish outside the points, and Starengi has to be the one at the moment. I have to say, Michael Ayers up 9 places from where he qualified. Of course, a lot of that goes down to the strategy used in qualifying, because we saw a lot of the heavy hitters not going out on the soft tyres and instead running on the mediums to try and get that optimal strategy for the race.
Yeah, and so Ayers. Michael tried to qualify in the soft, didn't get into top 10, so he had the option of starting on the medium tyre. But what he did really nicely is picked his way through the top 10 at the start of the race, and he was up to P4 in no time. So obviously, picking off a few of the errors from others as Herlock comes under attack from Polenz, who's been absolutely rapid since changing tyres, it has to be said. But yeah, Ayers has been great. Just hasn't had the speed to cope with Granqvist, and Granqvist obviously starting at the top had that buffer anyway. This is the fight though to watch. It's Herlock who must have thought, thank goodness, when Stoffmill got rid of himself from in front of him, and all of a sudden Polenz is absolutely sauntered up to back. Look how easy that is, pretty much a carbon copy of the Stoffmill Herlock fight, and Polenz through easily then into P8.
Yeah, that all started because it just looked like Herlock there wasn't quite as committed going through Eau Rouge and Radion, and you saw the attack that Polenz had going through that same section. It was always going to be momentum on Polenz's side, and rightfully he gets that position with the momentum he brought forward. He moves himself now up into 8th place, with Joseph Herlock falling down to 9th. Coming in towards the end of this race at the moment, Granqvist leading the way by nearly 12 seconds at the moment. moment. Butcher is in third with Singh in fourth. Bickers in fifth with Sershik in sixth place. Macheda in seventh. Polenz in eighth, riding aboard with Herlock in ninth. And Stoffmill in 10th. Joffert in 11th. Van der Voort in 12th. Dabrowski in 13th place. Geisinger in 14th. And our championship leader going into this round in Frelick rounds off our top 15 drivers, with Staregi rounding off the 16 drivers still in this race. Not many laps to go then, just a handful to go. And Ewan, who's really been a sparkler today for you? Who's really stood out for you today?
Oh, where to start? I mean, there's been plenty doing their own little jobs. I mean, I thought Shershik was falling down through the field at one point, but he's managed to stabilise, and actually it turns out his first stint on those softs was pretty heroic, to be honest. So he's up in P6. Macheda's been fast, but had to pit early. I think there's only one really experienced. He's been in a league of his own. He's got a 13-second lead, near enough, over Michael Ayres. And he's really taken the bull by the horns, hasn't he, as his championship rivals fall and fell around him.
Yeah, he's been in the right place to score those points, as Fabian Schick then tries to close in on Lee Bickers right up ahead of him for fifth place. A late battle on fifth place as they both now make their way down the hill in towards Blanchimont. Schick then has shown his pace in these last couple of laps to close in to Bickers as we make our way through Speaker's Corner and back onto the power as we head our way down towards Puan. And Dabrowski is into the pits then, so perhaps here he might try his hand at seeing if he can get the fastest lap. You just never know. I mean, put on a set of medium tyres, maybe even a set of soft tyres, and if you can take into the last few laps, he is on the soft tyres. There you can see Dabrowski. He's definitely going for the fastest lap. He definitely wants that bonus point.
He lost 2 positions with it, though. I don't think that would have been a scheduled stop. It would have been something amiss for him to make a stop with such short time left in the race, I would say. So, but yeah, Sherchik was the battle we were looking at, and Bickers looks pretty defenceless in the straight line, has done all race long. You can see he's pulled the gap out a little bit in the medium, in the middle sector. It makes me think that he's geared more towards the corners than the straights. It would have explained his pretty stellar qualifying as well. But Sherchik looks much faster in the straight line, DRS and Slipstream as well. I'm expecting Sherchik to make a move here after Eau and Radion.
4 laps to go then as we make our way down the hill then, as Macheda also have to watch out for him in P7. He might fancy his battle, fancy his ticket into this battle as well towards the closing stages, so keep an eye on Ruben Macheda then as we head in towards that DRS zone. Meanwhile then, Tom van der Voort is going down the inside, launches it down the inside in towards La Source then to try and get ahead of Sylvie Joffer, trying to get the power down. A little bit of a squirrel coming out of La Source as we make our way now on towards Eau Rouge and Radion. That's going to hand a big advantage here to Senna Stoffmeal as he makes his way over the crest then of Radion, and now making our way towards the Kemmel Straight. They're going to be battling side by side then, and with Stoffmeal having that DRS, you see then Tom van der Voort applies the squeeze just about a car length to his left hand side, still trying to go up the inside, but Stoffmeal misses the corner then. Van der Voort makes his way through to take back that position, and these two are battling hammer and tong for this position of 11th place, and Van der Voort comes out on top in round 1.
Yeah, it was Joffert, Stoffmeal's teammate, but it was an easy mistake to make. Yeah, Joffert tried to hang it out around the outside and just got in a bit too deep. Interesting to see, actually, how much straight line speed Tom van der Voort had without the DRS to hang in there, because it looked for all the world it was going to be easy pickings for the second TTF. But now Stoffmeal's up ahead, far too far in the 3 laps we got left. Sherchik still all over the back of Bickers, but Sherchik actually had the same problem as Van der Voort out of the source, had a big squiggle on, and that's why he couldn't challenge the last time round. Let's see if he's got anything left in the tank to have a go at those Bickers this time.
See, as we make our way down towards La Source with 3 to go here. Sherchik then trying to get back onto the power, making our way on towards Eau Rouge and Radion. And Macheda, as we said a lap ago, is really closing in. He's one of the fastest out there, out on track, and fancies 4th place in this battle. He could try and get it, you know, as we head our way on towards the Kemmel Straight. DRS wide open for Sirchik and also for Macheda behind. So he's going to be closing into this battle as Bickers tries to break the toe, heading in towards Les Combes, and then on our way through Malmedy. So Vickers here is doing everything he can, but with 2 cars behind him that have got the DRS, and you've got Macheda as well, who's one of the fastest cars out on track at the moment. It's going to be a tough task to keep these 2 behind.
Best thing that can happen for Vickers here is if Sherchik doesn't get through, because or if Sherchik doesn't get overtaken, by Macheda, because if Macheda gets past Sherchik, he goes past Vickers. At the moment, Vickers has the measure of Sherchik in the first sector, which is stopping Fabian from having to go into Les Combes. But if Macheda gets through, I think he's got too much speed for Vickers to do anything about it. It would be powerless. So, if Vickers wants to top 5, then he needs Macheda to stay behind Sherchik. As Sherchik gets really wide actually through Stavolo, that's going to give Macheda plenty of opportunity by the time they get down to the bus stop.
He's right into that slipstream now as we make our way towards Blanchimont, that long flying left-hander before we get towards the bus stop chicane, and Macheda right on his tail then pulls to the inside line but backs out of it, and just trying to fill that mirror then of the car ahead of him in Sherchik. Then back onto the power we go then, and across the start-finish line to start yet another lap. We only have 2 to go here, and Macheda wants this move, but he's, I think, now going to wait until the DRS straight then, and a little bit sideways is Sherchik coming out of La Source as we make our way onwards towards Eau Rouge, and then up Radion we will go. Macheda will have that DRS, and look at the attack, look at the commitment going through Radion then as he looks to the left hand side with that DRS wide open, and that's going to be Macheda's position, signed, sealed and delivered. As you see then, Sherchik trying to find a way back through. Macheda puts on the defence and keeps that 6th place. And his next target now will be Lee Vickers, and he's only got around about 11 or so kilometres to go. But he is one of the fastest out on track. Speaking of fastest out on track, Dabrowski now has the fastest lap of the race. So he's taken that bonus point away from Frelich in these closing stages. So Dabrowski is now into 13th place at the very least, but at least he'll go away at the moment with that bonus point. Granqvist, meanwhile, nearly 15 seconds ahead of Michael Ayers in these closing stages, and to cross the line at any moment now. Macheda just trying to apply that pressure now to Lee Vickers, and as you said, Ewan, the one thing Lee Vickers didn't want is for Macheda to find a way past Sherchik. Well, now his fear might have just come true. Macheda is barreling down on him.
Yeah, Ruben's got plenty of pace, and I don't think Lewis has got the straight line speed that he needs. So, so Vickers is really in trouble. Sherchik as well, the past couple of pole lengths, right behind, looking for a way around for another move, and might even go down inside into the bus stop. It's better. But Sherchik has no rear end. I think he's burnt his tyres up. He's got absolutely no rear end at all, and every time he does spin the tyres up under traction, he's hurting them even more. Sandeep Singh isn't that far away either, up in 4th from Chris Butcher in a podium, but too far back for anything, as Polenz gives Sherchik a little bit of a push through La Source. On to the last lap then, Macheda looking for P5.
Is indeed, and he'll be looking with that DRS. This is one of his last opportunities to try and get this move done. He's into that slipstream of Lee Vickers then. Lee Vickers trying to go defensive as much as possible to try and prevent that. But I think he's trying to prevent the inevitable then, as Macheda gets that position done, and so too does Polenz on Sherchik behind as well. Polenz is now up into 7th place. Meanwhile then, we cut to Jan Granqvist, the Finnish driver, who's making his way through the last couple of laps here, but we haven't seen a lot of him into these final few corners. But I tell you what, that's normally a good sign. It means you've kept your head down, hammer down, and got those laps in, which is what he's absolutely done today. He needed to get onto a good streak. He's definitely on one now. He'll make it 2 wins out of 3. It's Jan Granqvist who wins the Belgian Grand Prix, and a dominant display from the Finnish driver, which puts himself right back into the championship fight then. Michael Ayers makes his way in towards the final chicane then. A great drive from him, up 9 places where he qualified. He will finish in 2nd place there. A great drive. And Chris Butcher just holds off the last-ditch attack then from Sandeep Singh to hold on to 3rd place. Give that an extra lap, and Sandeep Singh really does have a good battle for the podium on his hands. And Pascal Polenz here is leaving this one late, but he locks up going in towards that final chicane. That probably will seal that position for him in 7th place. Macheda across the line in 5th, Vickers in 6th, Polenz in 7th place, with Sherchik keeping a tab on those tyres to grab 8th spot, with Herlock rounding off 9th place, and we'll expect Stoffmeal across the line in 10th place. But there is Jan Grangfist then doing some donuts to celebrate what has been a dominant display.
Yeah, easy if you like in the end, wasn't it? Stunning stuff from Jan Grangfist. And yeah, I tell you what, Sandeep Singh, by the way, what a performance to get back to within a whisker of a podium, having been involved in an incident spinning round halfway through the first stint and falling right to the back of the field. That is a brilliant dive from Sandeep Singh to get back up to 4th, and just missing out Chris Butcher taking the final podium place for THR Michael Ayres as well. Up 9 positions, up into P2. Plenty of good news stories in that race. For a lot of the drivers, in fact, pretty much most of the top 10, all good news stories. There's the 2 Super Venturi drivers, Macheda, plenty of speed as well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Macheda finding his way back up through the field. But there are your provisional results so far. Jan Grangfist takes a win in the Belgian Grand Prix. Michael Ayres in 2nd place, with Chris Butcher rounding off our podium positions. Sandeep Singh in 4th place, hoping it was a 37-lap race. At one more lap, he would have had a really good battle with Chris Butcher for that final podium position. Ruben Macheda in 5th place, with Lewis Bickers in 6th, with Pascal Pelens in 7th place. Fabian Scherchik in 8th place, with Joseph Herlock in 9th. Senna Stoffmeal rounding off our top 10 drivers. Tom van der Voort in 11th place, with Sylvie Joffert in 12th. Mateusz Dabrowski in 13th place, with Max Geisinger in 14th. Szymon Frelik, the championship leader, tough race for him. He rounds off the top 15, with Daigoro Starenyi rounding off the 16 finishes. Non-finishes in that race: Mateusz Guzowski, Ben Willis, Adriano Opportuni, Dylan Platt, and also one of our heavy hitters in the championship, Luke Maguire, retired very early on in this race. No rear wing from him early on, and Noah Tuamela retiring on the first lap. Well, a very eventful Belgian Grand Prix. It's fair to say that, Ewan, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it makes the break that's coming up even sweeter, doesn't it? Especially if you're in Super Venturi, because actually, if you're Jan Grangfist, it wasn't eventful for him. He was probably thinking, what was all the fuss about? He was having a tea party up in front, behind him, all kicking off. And yeah, it's what makes this championship so exciting, because there is always something happening, and you can never rest on your laurels. Luke Maguire, we were bigging him up before the race. We were saying, that he was unlucky, missed the race, and really, he probably should have been ahead of Szymon Frelik, and it turned into really a bit of a horror story for both of the front 2. Grangfist and Pelens pulling themselves back towards the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe now we can have at least one interview. I know we can grab our race. I hope we can anyway, because that was a dominant performance from him, and he'll be able to have a chat to us for that one. I mean, chat to someone first. It's Chris Butcher we've dragged in by the scruff of his neck. Chris, welcome along. How are you?
Warm, sweaty, tired, but yeah, happy. P3. I can't really complain with that.
I mean, what was a very eventful race, Chris? I mean, talk us through that first lap, because a lot happened, but a lot was there to unpack.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of Spa, really. You've got everybody tries to pile into the apex of turn 1, and they kind of run wide. So I think I was 3 wide with Luke, and there was a car on my left hand side. I'm not quite sure who that was, but we all just sort of got pinched, and I sort of came off the worst of that and lost a load of speed. So I was on the back foot all the way up the Kemmel Straight, and I think there was 3 cars even bump drafting past me. So yeah, the first lap was a bit tricky, but then just sort of tried to settle into a rhythm and sort of get it back under control and start looking after my tyres.
Yeah, and also towards the end there, Sandeep Singh was really closing in on you. I bet you're relieved it's a 36-lap race rather than a 37-lap one.
Yeah, one more lap and he would have had me for sure. I mean, I think I don't know if he was caught up in an incident in the first stint or what. I'm not sure, because he obviously qualified a fair bit ahead of us. So if that is the case, then I think by rights he probably should have been ahead anyway. But in this game you've got to keep your nose clean and sort of keep it consistent. And yeah, he was so fast at the end of the race. So I don't know how he was doing that, because I think he he either pitted around the same time as me or a lap earlier or something like that. So to manage that pace and look after the tyres as well as he did, all credit to him. That was a great job, and shame that he didn't really get much reward for it. But I really have to thank the team, even though the result didn't go the way that we wanted it. Everybody worked really hard. We put a lot of work into the strategy and everything again, and with a new update on R Factor as well, the way the tyres heat has been changed quite a lot. So it was a bit last minute for everybody working out the strategies, and I think most of the top guys ended up on the medium quali, so we didn't really have the tyre offset that we usually enjoy. So it was just sort of a case of who could look after the tyres the best and who could go the fastest at the end of the day.
Well, Chris, congratulations to you heading into that summer break, a well-deserved summer break for you. Congratulations on your third place tonight.
Thanks, Kieran.
And hopefully we would have second place in the race at Michael Ayres, but I don't think we've got him at the moment. So what I'm going to do then, Ewan, is I'm going to hand you over to our race winner in Jan Grankvist.
Yeah, and what a race win it was, Jan. Congratulations, and right back in the championship fight now. Just tell us about the race from your point of view.
Thank you very much. It was a pretty lonely race after, obviously, the first few laps for me. But I kept hearing a lot of stories happening from all the way around the grid with Marco telling me in the team radio. But as for my own race, nothing really too interesting happened except for the early overtake on Adriano Opportuni. That actually gave me some damage to the rear right, which I could feel. So it actually kept me on my toes the whole race. But other than that, I was able to manage the pace quite nicely, and everything just sort of fell into place today.
Chris was just on about as well the changes in the tyres between the last round and this round. How much of an effect did that have on you? And was it really a case of feeling your way through the strategy on the racetrack, or was that the pre-planned ideal?
Yeah, it was sort of the pre-planned strategy that we had in mind. Obviously, we did have a plan B, seeing if everyone else started qualifying on the softs, and our position would have looked dire in quali. But luckily, our lap was enough to put us all the way up into the second row, even with the medium tires, which was ideal. And from there on out, it was completely planned out. Lap 14 pit in to the hards, and that was it. Yeah.
So you had the issues in the middle of the season, so you missed a few races.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, with everything that's happened, you're right back in the championship fight now. I mean, there's hardly any points between the three of you. You're the driver in form. We've got a bit of a break, but then we've got the final run in at the end of the championship. You've got to be so confident going into that end of season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what better way to get back into the championship fight, am I right?
Absolutely. So is that now, do you think that you have got the best chance, or are there any circuits that you're thinking, I just need to survive there, or are you really sort of ready for that final run-in?
Yeah, I don't think it's too much circuit dependent. Luke and I are super competitive, no matter what track comes on, and then obviously there's Simon, who's just always there and thereabouts with the podium, so he can always grab a huge chunk of points. But what I'm thinking is THR have the ace with the teamwork, as do Royal Blue, to be fair, which for us hasn't been too great. Obviously, we're struggling to keep two cars on the grid consistently enough. But Reuven did really well today, so I got to thank him as well for grabbing that P5. But yeah, going into the last few rounds, I think teamwork's going to be very key.
Well, Jan, congratulations again. It's going to be so exciting to see what happens at the end of the season between the three of you. Have a good break, and we will see you in 4 weeks' time.
Thank you very much.
What a tale from Jan there, Ewan. I mean, what a race we had. I mean, where do you even start? Where do you even finish with that? Because so much happened in front of us.
I mean, it's worrying if Jan had damage and was still that fast.
Yes.
Because he was still pulling out on Michael at the end of the race, wasn't he? So, I mean, blew everyone else out of the water. But what Jan said is right. Him and Luke are so evenly matched, and Shimon is always up there that, anything can happen when we come back after the break. The three are so close in the point standings as well that, one problem could be the difference between winning the championship and coming third.
Well, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting right back stuck into the championship battle once again. When we head back to the Italian Grand Prix on the 6th of September, make sure you join us from them. But from myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Ewan Gale alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring this race to you. We hope to see you after the summer break. Until then, take care of yourselves, have a very good summer, and we'll see you soon.